Okay, we got to keep our eyes on these division rivals. So our look around the NFC North rolls on here, and we're going to go to the border rivals, the Green Bay Packers. And we're going to go right into the Lions' den when it comes to the Green Bay Packers and Packers.com. It's Mike Spofford, who knows this team as well as anyone because he's with them every single day. Mike, welcome to On the Line on Vikings.com. Welcome to enemy territory, my friend, and thanks for doing this with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Wobby. I appreciate it. This sounds like a fun little segment you guys are working on here.
Yeah, it is. It is fun. And props to our mutual friend Kim, who's now with us. She was with you. Kim has hooked us up with the Mike Spofford connection. So while we are trying to beat each other's brains out on the field, we can work together off the field, and that's a good thing. And it's going to give some Vikings fans some insight into the Green Bay Packers as we get ready for 2019. And for you guys, Mike, it's sort of been all about getting to know a new head coach, which means a lot for the digital team, people like yourself, and also a lot for the players like Aaron Rodgers and some of the offensive players, particularly because Coach LaFleur is an offensive-minded guy. So what's sort of been your perspective and your observations on Coach LaFleur so far?
Well, I mean, he's been a very hands-on coach, to say the least. Now, this was before he suffered the torn Achilles and had surgery on his foot and then ended up moving around the practice field on a golf cart and all that kind of stuff. But before that, this is a guy who is, as a head coach, he's in every drill. He's talking to the quarterbacks, talking to the receivers. He's throwing passes during position drills. Really was highly focused, obviously, on teaching his system, using the OTAs and the minicamp time and everything to go through the playbook and really focus on it as a teaching and a learning phase, so that then when the players can come back for training camp, they're reviewing everything. They've been through all of it once. They're reviewing it, and then you can kind of ramp up the speed and the intensity and everything that goes with really fighting for those roster spots and starting jobs and all of that kind of stuff that comes later on in the summer. So it's been a process, but you can tell he's a coach, even though he hasn't been a head coach before. He's a coach who's been through this process before. He was involved in it in Atlanta when he got there as the quarterbacks coach in 2016, implementing a new offense there. Then he went with Sean McVay to the Rams in 2017. Then he became offensive coordinator in Tennessee in 2018. So he's been through this kind of thing on a regular basis, and he had it all planned out in the way he wanted to get it done.
Yeah, I think, my perspective on it from Minnesota, looking at it into Green Bay, I know the fun way for a lot of people to do it is to try and sow some discord between Rodgers and the new head coach. But the way I look at it is, if you're an offensive-minded head coach like Matt LaFleur is, and you've got your system and your way of doing things, I think there's two ideal scenarios for you at quarterback. You come in there and you draft someone, so it's a guy that you're starting from scratch with. Or you come in with a genius in there, like Drew Brees or Tom Brady, or your guy, Aaron Rodgers. And that's what LaFleur has. So don't you think that the process for LaFleur is actually maybe a touch easier and gets accelerated because not just Rodgers being a good player and having the skill set, but because of the way Rodgers thinks about the game? Can you follow me on that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You're talking about a guy, and you mentioned those others as well, who are headed to the Hall of Fame, who play the game on a different level. And, learning a new playbook, learning a new system, there are certainly challenges to it, but the process does get sped along in that respect. And as far as, there's a lot of things being talked about right now. How much freedom is Rodgers going to have at the line of scrimmage, and how rigid is the offensive system going to be? I think both guys, everybody's, parsing quotes here and there. I think both guys have been pretty clear on the fact that it's going to be a work in progress. There's going to be a balance point reached. There's some sort of a happy medium out there in terms of, getting the system to do what Matt LaFleur believes the system can do for an offense, and applying Aaron Rodgers' mind to it at the line of scrimmage and looking for matchups and trying to take advantage of certain things that he sees in the heat of the moment from the defense. So is this all going to be hunky-dory and smooth and a well-oiled machine in week one against the Chicago Bears, or even week two when your Vikings come here to Lambeau Field? Probably not. I don't know if anybody even as good as Aaron Rodgers could get to that point that quickly. But as you know, Wabi, it's a long season, 16 games. There's a lot that can happen, and I think the Packers are in this for the long haul here with Matt LaFleur, and I think Aaron Rodgers is in it for the long haul as well. They're going to work through all of this and get this offense to where they think it's going to work best for the players. And you've also got a veteran wide receiver, a Pro Bowler in Devontae Adams, a veteran tight end in Jimmy Graham. Yeah, you have a lot of other young players around there, but you've got some other key pieces on this offense, a 3-time All-Pro in David Bakhtiari at left tackle. You have some key pieces on this offense that this isn't their first rodeo either. These guys, yes, they're learning a new system, but they're experienced, polished, and accomplished NFL players who are going to planning on getting the job done.
Yep, I think that's well said. And part of it, too, is you got to go through growing pains and the learning curve in games. I mean, that's just part of it. You know, you go in there with the plan.
No question about it.
Yeah, you go in there with,
no question about it.
Yeah, I mean, you go in with the plan and you think you're going to execute this plan, and then you get this look with this wrinkle against your offense, and then you learn that you want to do that against that look. I mean, so those guys are going to go through it. They're both smart guys, and they both want to win. So it's not going to be a problem.
I agree with you too. And as you said, it's going to be in the games because, as we all know, I don't care who you're playing in the preseason, who your 4 opponents are, you're not going to get the looks and the challenges in those preseason games to try to sort all that out in the month of August. It's going to take the games in September and in October and getting more stuff on film and learning from your own film and seeing what opponents are doing on a weekly basis to react to what you're doing. That's all part of this process of installing a new offense. And yes, the preseason games will be important to get certain kinds of reps and whatnot, but once week 1, week 2, week 3 roll around here in September, it's a whole different situation.
Exactly. We're not going to unveil the look of Everson Griffin playing safety in the preseason, so you guys can see that. We're not going to do that in the preseason. We're going to surprise you with that in week 2. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'll file that away.
Right. Speaking of defense, I hate it, but I think you guys are getting a lot better on defense. You're adding some talented players, and I think you got a coach, a coordinator, Coach Pettin, who knows what he's doing. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I tell you, the improvement in the Packers' defense in year 1 under Mike Pettin in 2018 was substantial, I thought. I thought the Packers they were much more competitive in the red zone. They were much more competitive on third down. There were certain measuring sticks. Now, I mean, they weren't jumping up into the top 10 in those categories, but they were going from, being in the bottom third of the league to, at least being in, say, the middle third of the league in some of those key defensive categories. And now the trick obviously is to keep climbing up those charts. And as you said, a lot of personnel changes. Nick Perry and Clay Matthews are gone. You've brought in Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith at outside linebacker. HaHa Clinton-Dix is gone. Adrian Amos is in at safety. You've drafted Rashawn Gary and Darnell Savage with a pair of first-round picks. There's a lot of new pieces here, but at the same time, it's not quite the same as starting over with Pettin as it was in 2018, because in 2018 you had the entire defense trying to learn something new and make the transition. Now you have some key players, but it's a handful of starters who are learning it while everybody else is into that second year, the Kenny Clarks and the Mike Daniels and the Blake Martinezes and those guys who have been around for a while and went through that whole transition last year. So you could see during off-season workouts, OTAs, and minicamp, the defense was definitely ahead of the offense as far as the Packers are concerned, and that was to be expected. But yeah, there are some high hopes for this defense definitely to keep climbing the charts and to get back to, where the Packers were defensively at the beginning of this decade when they went to a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Last thing for me, how's J.K. Scott doing? Reason I ask is he's my favorite Green Bay Packer. Your punter.
Why is he your favorite Green Bay Packer?
Because he's your punter. I love when he's on the field.
Oh, you love when the punter's on the field.
Yeah, I love it when you guys are punting. That's the best. So give my regards to J.K. Scott, please. I really like him. He's my favorite guy.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, thanks,
I'll
man.
do that.
All right.
JK's got some great leg talent, but yes, he's hoping he won't have to use it as much this year as he did last year.
I know. I'm only teasing. I hope over these next 4. I think you guys announced your training camp dates this week, didn't you?
Yes, Tuesday afternoon. We've released a schedule. Yeah.
Okay. Well, enjoy this downtime before then, because once that time comes, it's a grind, and we're going to see you along the way. We appreciate your time though today, giving us a little look at your team, the Green Bay Packers. So thanks for your time.
All right, sounds good, Wobby. Thanks for having me.
Yep. See you, Mike.